Recording in progress.
Okay. All right. I think we're good. So just for the record tonight, for those who are watching at home, we're having technical difficulties. Okay, go ahead.
I will call the June 13th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. I will make a note real quick that the board did meet in executive session. We discussed 4 legal matters and 1 personnel matter. Mr. Neese, before we do the call to order, I believe that you have something you want to state for the record.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody understands we are having trouble with our camera system tonight. So if you're watching at home or watching on YouTube, you may only see the chair of the board speaking, and we apologize to that. We'll try to get that fixed before the next meeting. Maybe not, since there's one tomorrow night, but we'll work on that. But I just wanted to let everybody know it's not a problem with their system, it's a problem with our system.
Got it. And with that, Mr. Neese, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Altieri?
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcap is not here. Mr. Partridge?
Here.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Chanlis is not here. Your special counsel is here. Your engineer is here, and your manager is here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neese. We'll now move down to the moment of silence. I ask that we all remember the innocent children who lost their lives in Uvalde, Texas, for this evening's moment of silence. We'll now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Moving down to 5.1, consider approving the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Section 6, public comment for agenda items only. If there's any members of the public who have anything that they wish to say with regards to the agenda, please come up to the podium and state your name and address. Seeing none, let the record reflect that we have no public comment. We'll now move down to 7.1. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May 23rd, 2022 meeting?
So move for approval. Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo to approve the minutes from the May 23rd, 2022 meeting. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Section 8, resolutions of recognition. 8.1, consider approving resolution 2022-24, recognizing St. Albans Episcopal Church on their 100th anniversary. Supervisor Partridge.
Resolution number 2022-24, recognizing St. Albans Episcopal Church on their 100th anniversary. Whereas Newtown Township recognizes St. Albans Episcopal Church on the 100th anniversary of its founding, and whereas originally founded as a mission church of St. David's in Radnor, St. Albans became part of the Newtown Square community in 1922, meeting first in Newtown Square Firehouse, and whereas in 1924, land was purchased on Bishop Hall Road, where a temporary building was erected and a church officially adopted the name of St. Alban. And whereas in 1948, 5 acres were acquired from the Pennsylvania Hospital farm and ground for the current church itself was broken in 1950. And whereas since its founding, St. Albans has opened its doors to the community through its thrift shop, the model railroad club, the location of the Newtown Square Farmers Market, as well as a meeting location for Alcoholics Anonymous and Debtors Anonymous. And whereas generations of Newtown Square residents have found belongings in St. Albans community and others have benefited from its work, be it though its help of residents in need or its cheerfulness and caroling for the annual St. Albans Circle tree lighting. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of Newtown Square would like to recognize and honor the St. Albans Episcopal Church on the 100th anniversary, adopted this 13th day of June, 2022, and that's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? The only thing I'll note is that we are going to be presenting this to St. Albans Church on June 23rd. So 26th, whatever that Sunday is. So they will receive it then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We'll now move down to presentations 9.1, Eagle Scout project presentation by Mr. Matthew DeAngelo Jr. Your microphone on, Matthew?
It's green. Good evening. I'm Matt DeAngelo, not a junior. And today I'm presenting my paper mill house project. As you can see here, the goal of the project is to refurbish the current pathway in both the front and back of the house by the doors and of the paper mill house. The path will then be made safer. It will help with the water and washout, and it will be more aesthetically pleasing. The dates for the project are planned to be July 9th and 10th, and it will be done by my Troop 315 out of St. Anastasia Parish. And then where the Paper Mill House, 3 Paper Mill Hill Road, Newtown Square, PA. This is the official project description. I believe everyone has read over it beforehand, so I'll just briefly touch on a couple points. There's about 130 feet worth of walkway at the Newtown Square Paper Mill House, and we will come through, pick up the rubber pavers that are already there, and re-edge with wood edging. The old edging, we'll take up the old edging, put new edging down that'll be resistant to water, and then we will tamper down the gravel that's already there and put new gravel in places that it needs to be. And then we'll power wash the current pavers and then replace the pavers back down in order to clean them off and make the pathway, just refurbish the pathway. And then here are some pictures of the current pathway and the spots where it needs most attention. The pictures, two of the pictures are in the middle are from the front door and the front pathway, and the 2 pictures in the back, or 2 pictures on the right and left are from the back of the pathway. That's it. Thank you.
Nope, thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Matthew, I know the answers to this, but I'm going to ask them just so they're on the record. You have been in contact with the Historical Society,
Yes,
and
I
they
have.
are in support of this project?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher, thank you. Thank you very much. And you've also been speaking, I believe, with Mr. Sharretts with regards to coordinating with Public Works if needed.
I have.
Mr. Sharretts, you're on board with this? Perfect. Matt, good luck. I think that we will put it in our calendars and hopefully we can be there as well. Maybe not to assist too much, but yeah, supervise. We'll supervise. Let's see, that works too.
He knows you well.
Mr. Sokorai, since it's our property, do we need to make a motion to approve this, or how do you recommend doing that?
I mean, I think as long as it's leased, I think, to the Historical Society, so as long as they're okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, we reviewed this quickly, and based on the fact that there's no change in the Historic Society, it's really just improving something that's already there. I think you're okay.
Perfect. All right, Matt, good luck and thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. We look forward to your resolution when you get that Eagle Scout pin. We'll now move down to section 10, appointment to boards and commissions. 10.1. I get a motion to appoint a new township solicitor.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Richard C. Sokorai from High Schwartz as our township solicitor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo to appoint Richard C. Sokorai, High Schwartz as the new township solicitor. Is there any board discussion? Rich, we look forward to continuing to work with you in this capacity. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 10.2, Historic Preservation Commission. What I'll do is I'll read the names and then we'll just take it all as one vote. So my motion will be the member for one term expiring 12/31/2021 will be Vince Gutierrez. Member 2 and 3 term expiring 12/31/2022 will be Connie Stuckert and Tiffany DeMeo. Member 4 and 5 term expiring 12/31/2023 will be Chris Wilson and that's you. I won't bounce back because that's someone's name twice. Members 6 and 7, term expiring 12/31/2024 will be Kathy Cavalier and Frank Falcone. And for that last one, thank you. What is the name? Melissa Kinnett will be for the 20, to end on 2022. Excuse me, 2023.
Second.
This would make note for the public that once these appointments are done, they'll all be four-year terms after the initial appointment.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any other board discussion? Township manager said what I was going to say, but this is for the new historic preservation or new historic preservation commission that we created. The reason why we had to do these is we have to stagger them so that they then expire consistent to what the ordinance says. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Move down to reports. 11.1, report from the township manager, Mr. Neese.
Yes, I just have a couple quick things just to keep you up to speed. We have installed over the last several weeks, the Public Works installed the temporary speed tables. I think there's the two on Sawmill. You didn't get the other two done today, did you? Or three. They got one of the other two, or one of the other two. There's one more that's going on Sawmill, and that'll be done this week, assuming we can keep the rain at bay enough to get that done. We also installed the two on Ellis Avenue. I'm hearing good things, and I've only been back a couple days about the Ellis Avenue one, so that's positive. I would make note that the project in the parking lot is taking, I think, a little longer than the contractor thought. They run into a couple of under drains, but they are still working through that. I anticipate there will be a change order on the project to have hooked up at least one of those under drains. But we're hopefully, when they get over to Green Valley Road, that will help, or they'll not have any problems there, and we'll get the project back on track. For the public as well as for the board, just to let you know, our officer Kyle Payne has started last Monday, and he is going through his training now and working through his probationary period. So he is working for the township. You approved him back in, I believe it was beginning of May. And so he's now started.
Could you bring him in one of the meetings?
Yeah, we will bring him in to officially be, he's officially sworn in, but we'll bring him in for ceremonial swearing in once we get all his uniforms. We like to do that and make sure you get a chance to meet him.
Steve, so we have all, the board, I think it's fair to say, have received emails and phone calls from various residents all over the township with regards to malfunctioning sprinklers. So if we can direct the solicitor to study the issue and potentially come up with an ordinance with regards to malfunctioning sprinklers, I think that's speaking for the board. Everyone's in agreement with that to move forward with that if we can make that a priority.
Okay.
Any other questions for the township manager? Seeing that, we'll move down to payments. 12.1, consider approving the $250 payment to MN Parade Committee for a full-page advertisement in the July 4th parade program.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. 12.2, consider approving the $10,560.38 escrow release payment to White Horse Building Corporation for work completed at White Horse Development.
So move for approval.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 12.3, consider approving the $292.75 refund to Jennifer and Charles Rice at 116 Pine Street due to a reduced tax assessment.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Section 13, bills. 13.1, I will make a motion to approve the bills on check register A dated June 13, 2022, totaling $284,633.58.
Second.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 13.2, I will make a motion ratifying the bills on EFT register dated June 7, 2022, totaling $22,667.82. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We are actually going to go a little bit out of order here because we can save a lot of the discussion stuff at the end. But we're gonna, so BPG, we're gonna, because you have two things on the agenda, we're just gonna bump you guys down at the bottom. Top on our hearts, bottom of the agenda now, just remember that. We'll move down to section 15, public hearing, 15.1, a hearing pursuant to the IRS code in connection with the issuance of tax exempt revenue bonds by the National Finance Authority in the aggregate amount of $10,500,000 for capital projects and improvements of Melmark Inc. and Melmark Investments LLC, including the Newtown Township location at 2600 Wyland Road. The township will not be an administrator, borrower, or obligator on these bonds. I believe we have someone from Melmark here. Is that you? Come on over to the podium, introduce yourself.
Good evening, and thank you for having us this evening. I'm Tom Krafchick. I'm the Vice President and CFO of Melmark. Very briefly, Melmark serves adults and children with intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, and autism. Our campus is at 65 acres at the end of Wayland Road, and we serve just over 300 individuals. We stand here before you this evening as we would like to use tax-exempt bond proceeds to continue our great work serving individuals with disabilities here locally. One of the requirements of the IRS is that we get approval to use the funds locally. Approximately $9.3 million would be used to refinance the 2015 bonds that are still outstanding, and approximately $1 million, not to exceed $1.2 million, would be used to do renovations to the existing buildings on campus, including converting former classroom space into cafeteria, as the kids are currently forced to eat in their classrooms and cannot have communal dining just like every other kid has, as well as the conversion of adult day program that is going to be vacant into a residential facility, and potentially some roof repairs on the former school building.
Perfect. Tom, just a few things. I know it's stated in the motion, but just to be clear for those in the audience and as well as those watching this either now or in the future, the township is not obligated for any of this money. There's no obligation on the township.
Correct. The township's obligation is just approving the use of these funds locally.
Per the IRS code.
Correct.
Got it. Do any board members have any questions? Mr. Sokorai, do you want to add anything?
Just as you stated, there's no obligation on behalf of the township. Also, this is not an approval of any type of land development or zoning or anything like that. This is just an approval that, you know, we understand these types of funds will be used in our town, and we're okay with these types of funds being used for this type of a project. And some of this may already be approved. Some of it sounds pretty familiar from some prior meetings. Some of it sounds a little new. So, but any type of change in use, they'd have to come back before us.
Okay. All right, seeing no comments from the board, what we will do is we will move down to Supervisor Russo has it, but it's going to be section 18.1, consideration of a resolution to approve the issuance of tax exempt revenue bonds by the National Finance Authority in the aggregate maximum amount of $10,500,000 for capital projects and improvements of Melmark Inc. and Melmark Investments LLC, including Newtown Township location at 2600 Wyland Road. The township, again, will not be an administrator, borrower, or obligor on these bonds. Mr. Russo.
Resolution. Delaware, Commonwealth. 7F, Revenue Code. Parking projects. $500,000 finance. Capital improvements. Park Investments LLC. and other matters therefore fit. Board hereby approves issuance of Newtown project bonds by the authority. For this resolution, approval of the issuance of project authority for purposes of a section 7F by the applicable have to comply with the terms and intent of the resolution and the financial transaction approved hereby. The foregoing approval is for the purposes of applicable provision of the code as aforesaid and does not constitute approval for any permit, license, or zoning required for the construction or occupancy of any of the facilities to be financed or refinanced as part of the Newtown project. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption, resolved and adopted this 13th day of June 22nd, or June 2022, at a meeting of the Board of Supervisors, Township of Newtown.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. We're now going to move down to 16.2, authorize the township manager to sign the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission grant agreement.
So move for approval.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 16.3, consider authorizing the public work.
If I could, just real quick, just so everybody knows, we did get the grant for $100,000 that we went for Bartram Bridge, and that's what this is for.
Nice. 16.3, consider authorizing the Public Works Director to coordinate the annual salt bid on behalf of 10 Delaware County municipalities.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 16.4, consider accepting the recommendation of the Rail Trail Feasibility Study Committee to accept the proposal from Simone Collins to perform the Newtown Square Branch Rail Trail feasibility study up to $4,000 increase for additional public comment meetings.
So move for approval.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo.
I just
Mr.
want
Neese.
to be clear that it's with an additional 4,000 as to what their contract originally stated. So I may have had it worded a little incorrectly there. So,
A little weird how it's worded, but do you want to
Yeah.
touch on that at all?
yeah, just so the committee really liked Simone Collins and felt like they were the one that they would like to choose. Simone Collins had some room in their proposal and what the grant was for doing that feasibility study. We asked them to go back and be willing to do some more one-on-one and public meetings or individual meetings or small group meetings as needed throughout this project, and they agreed. They said that if somebody just calls them and talks to them, that's part of built into their plan. But if this means going out and sitting down in somebody's house, there's money there to be able to go do that if needed.
Perfect. Any other questions for Mr. Neese? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, now we'll get into the Ellis Preserve things. So we'll bump back up to section 14, land development approval. 14.1, Ellis Preserve signage update. We'll start with that one first. Unless you want to do the other, do you have a preference? I mean, let's just go with the signs first.
Preference either way.
Leave your people here, so we'll go with the signs.
Sure, and just to clarify, it's under land development / approval, so this isn't a land development approval, this is just under the process that we've set up for this particular PRD, wherein the applicant, when there's architectural features or signage, the developer comes in, works with the board to get approval of the particular ideas for that look. this isn't a formal approval under the MPC. This is just, hey, this is what we want to do. The board says, okay, that's great. Then it still has to go to our code officer and our zoning officer, and they review all the applications, our township engineer, and they make sure everything's compliant with the code and the technical aspects. So this is more of a concept or the look, the feel, and what they're going for.
Got it.
And it really gives Andy a guide to take each application that we make to the township and compare it against this overall set of guidelines.
Perfect.
John Ford Equus here to present the signage guidelines for Ellis Phase 2. With me is Brennan Murray from BCT Architects. Brennan is the designer for the signage. And really the board's pleasure, we could go through the entire package, or if there are certain areas of the package you want to focus on, we can do that. It's really.
I think we should probably just do certain areas.
We reviewed the package.
Talk about the signs.
Well, before we get into that, I believe there are two things that we're pulling out for tonight's discussion, correct? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I talked to the solicitor. So we're going to take the H's on the multifamily buildings, and we're going to table those, and also the blocked out areas on the rear of the buildings. We're going to take those off.
That's so just to clarify, so when we say, can you pull it up, Rose? It's a view of the south elevation from the street.
Yeah, secondary signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just everything as we're talking about. So we're pulling that. And then we're also pulling the secondary signs that are in the back of the buildings. For right now, tabling them. I should
Right
say.
now, and just so the board knows, those areas we're not fully thought out just yet. You know, we're exploring ideas of bringing in some of the history of Newtown Square, the history of Ellis Preserve. You know, some of those secondary locations are located in alleyways, and you know, we're really meant to soften those areas. But we're fine coming back when we have more meat in the bone for those areas to talk to the board.
Got it. So those two areas are going to be pulled, which is what Rose is pulling up right now, just in case anyone's looking.
Right there. Yeah.
That's the back,
Correct. Secondary signage.
secondary
area.
signage.
So all the monument,
Hold on real quick. And then the residential built, the view from south elevation from street, which is
Yeah,
the multifamily.
there's two elevations. There's a south and the west elevation that both have the H for the Harrison on the upper facade.
Well, it looks like we're having technical difficulties, but we're pulling them. There we go.
Correct. Just not the
Not,
not the ground sign, the residential monument sign, but the
we're having
actually go the other way. Okay.
There it is.
Right. There you go.
Perfect. All right, so that is now established. Mr. Russo, I believe you had some questions. Make sure.
I just want to, so the monument signs, there's 3 or 4 of them around the complex. They basically just have different veneer on the bottom of them, John. Where we're at.
So they're all supposed to have the same stone veneer on the bottom. I did notice,
They look, the one.
oh
looks a
wait,
little
I'm
different.
sorry.
So there is Brendan Murray, BCT. There is the current campus signage. We're continuing that along Chester Pike and at the end of Winding Way. But then when you get to Newtown Street and Winding Way, we are matching the retaining wall stone at that
Okay.
place.
All right.
The one
So,
on the screen right now, that's the one at 252 and Winding Way, correct?
no,
No, that's a Newtown and Winding Way.
252 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sounds weird, but it's Newtown Street.
Street,
All right.
Is that what you're gonna be calling them, John? Just, so you're dividing the 3 sections up in the shops, the villages, and the, don't move from that. You can go back to that, Steve. The shops, the villages, and what's the other one, the Harrison?
Harrison.
Is that what you guys are calling them?
Yeah, I think the village is a placeholder at this point for
Name hasn't been.
Rockwell's development.
Got
The townhouse portion of the project.
Why have that, just out of curiosity, why have it like that for 252 and Winding Way and not on the Westchester Pike side?
The Westchester Pike side represents more of the entire Ellis Preserve campus, and this represents more of the retail and mixed use on it. It matched, the previous one matches more of the signage that is already existent on that side of the project.
Got it.
And these signs are all backlit.
They reverse no front face illumination,
What was that?
no front face illumination, so no light will be coming forward. It is a reverse channel, so it basically it's halo lit.
So, all right. Like backlit. And then the tall monument, the retail pylon is similar to what you have already.
Yes, it's a slightly different variation, but I don't know if you can scroll to the,
And
Right there.
each user will have its own little placard,
yes, each tenant.
similar to what happened, what goes on now, at
Yep.
the other site.
Same materials and just a slightly different proportion.
Okay. And then, and you have one for the garage. And then one for Finley Catering. Is there one for Finley or two?
One.
It's just two different drawings. Look at the Harrison House. And then when we talked about the other signs, I thought you did a good job with the different type of signs you can have on the across the front of the different facilities. You showed a bunch of different options depending on what kind of facade they have. There's a few different options. You can go with channel letters, you can go with cut letters, you can go with freestanding letters, the
Variety-
exterior
variety.
illuminated, or, yeah, I think that was a good representation of the options we could see. John, do we have any definite people yet that you can tell us or no?
Working on it. We do, but just not at a position right now.
Well, we have Finley Caterers.
We're gonna get
Yeah,
you. One of these days, we're
we got
gonna
the
get
AC
slip on that, John.
Marriott, we have a user for the office building. So,
Great.
yeah, hopefully soon
Okay, good.
we can disclose it.
So then these names are just representations. These are not any of the people that are here today. Like you have Kirkland's, obviously you're not.
Oh,
putting
no,
Friday-
no,
You're
these
not
are-
putting a Fridays in because they're all going out of business. So, but like stuff like that is just options of
examples.
differences.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, good.
Well, before I get into my questions, is there anything that you want to show? Anything specific that you would
I
like
mean, we're
to?
happy to run through the package. At the board's suggestion, we included, renderings of exactly what the pylons will look like with the exact landscaping that will be planted in those areas for Winding Way, 252, Westchester Pike, and Charles Ellis. So, I mean, we can,
This is good because all the different signages that's going to be on the front of the building where everybody in the community is going to see it. There's a lot of variety. So like if, I don't know, so Sam's Pizza comes in, he wants this sign, and Joe's Bar comes in, he wants this type of sign, and it kind of gave us a representation of about, I don't know, 10 different ones, somewhere around there.
The only question that I have, or the only comment I have is going back to that one, the one that we established for 252 and Winding Way, or Newtown Street Road and Winding Way. Is having the, the shops, the villages and the Harrison listed at the bottom. I think it looks nice without it. I get what you guys are trying to do, but I don't really. I think it actually like I'm not an architect. I think it does the opposite. I think it actually secludes the development as opposed to, I mean, it's one giant walkable community.
I
as
think it
opposed
was mainly to serve the residential component. They wanted some signage, especially if we're going to take away the age. They wanted some recognition on at Winding Way.
Yeah.
252.
Well, they're
Are
going to
those-
see it, so I don't think it's going to be hard for them to know what it is. that
Are
they're
they
looking
gonna
at.
be illuminated or those just?
The bottom, no, those are just.
So you're only gonna have like, it's gonna be like a graphic.
Mhm.
I know
Out of
exactly.
stone
what-
or something? Is that out of stone? Is that
The,
gonna be like a carved stone?
it'll be, most likely it'll be a veneer matching the.
Yeah. So it's not gonna be lit up at night or anything.
I don't have, my concern isn't that it's going to be lit up. My concern is that I just think it's a lot
Oh.
to add there. And I think
Okay.
it's contrary to what we've been told, where we want to make it a one giant uniform walkable campus. Unity, I should say. And I just feel like we're just highlighting three.
Let me look,
Sections.
let me look at it. We'll
Yeah,
come back to you on that one. But I guess the sign itself,
I like the sign itself. I don't
and we
no
could
signs
move
are nice.
forward with
The
the
overall-
the overall sign. and
Sign area.
Sign area.
Like right back here right now, does it actually have the shops, the villages in Harrison written on that or no?
It does.
See, I can't see that. and I think it looks nice. That's not on there.
That's what I said. I didn't think it was on there either. It's
Yeah,
hard
I
to
know, I
see.
can't see it from here though. That's what I'm saying.
It's hard to see.
And I appreciate you doing the schematics with what it actually is gonna look like, as we discussed. I think it looks good. Any other questions from the board?
Just a comment. So I know you're tabling the H's, but just make a comment on that. So, having those big H's lit up, you have a community with how many townhomes, people be looking out their bedroom at the big H. Not so.
I want to shine into
not
your bedroom.
Not so, not so desirable. So I mean, I know you said table it, but
And just to clarify, those are also not front facing. Those would be backlit, like they're halo lit. So it's a soft glow around the edge of the sign. It's
in
not
in
barely.
a dark night with the height where they're at.
It's like the Batman symbol. We think if it lights up, John's
Still.
gonna pop up out of nowhere. Save us.
I think, I understand that.
I will say on that breath, John, just so you know, that obviously I've had individual conversations. It's not well received. So however you all want to kind of take that advice and work with it, there's not an appetite for it right now.
Yeah, I think for tonight's meeting, really, if we can move forward with the pylon signs, the wayfinding signs, the monument signs. Takes time to get those things ordered.
Yep.
And I mean, that's really what I'm looking for tonight.
And I think that's fine. Any
You need a
other
motion
conversations
on
from
this,
the
or-
board?
Need a motion or just a?
You want to do it, Rich?
I mean, you could either just do a motion to, or you could just.
Why don't we just do a motion to have him proceed with his procurement of the monument signs? The 5 monument signs and then the
Pylon signs.
pylon signs, the villages and has all those signs, and then the signs for the caterer and the Harrison, the monuments, and then
You could say, you could just say approve.
With the
The board
I just
approves
think.
the package as presented, with the exception of the
Oh,
H's.
all right, yeah,
on the
so-
building.
So I make a motion, we approve the package as presented, less the H's and the secondary signage. And John's gonna revisit the sign at 252 and Winding Way.
Yeah.
In relation to the bottom
The
sign.
bottom.
Yeah, the three.
Yeah,
uh,
the sign itself is
individual signs at the
fine.
bottom.
He's just gonna revisit that. We'll talk about that later.
And
So,
then, and this approval subject to, submission to the
yeah,
zoning officer.
approval to whoever the
and township engineer.
zoning officer and building department.
Second.
Good job, Rich. Motion was made by Supervisor Russo. I believe Suzanne, you got all that down. Seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Before we vote, is there any members of the public who want to add anything since this is a presentation? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We will now move down to old business 17.1, discussion and possible decision relative to BPG rendering PH2D, the new office building in Ellis Preserve, previously approved building architectural changes only.
Thank you. I have John Schwartz with me from D2 Architects. John is the designer for the project. We were here, I guess it was roughly a month ago, and we had a discussion with the board on the renderings presented that night, and the board had some suggestions that they would like to see. So John's here to present the updated renderings for the project.
Good evening, John Schwartz. So the first slide we wanted to, I know there was some question on orientation of the building. So the first slide really is just to represent where the building actually sits on the site relative to Winding Way. And I think if you scroll up a little bit.
You have these as hard copy or no? Did you bring any hard copies?
Do I have hard?
Yeah, do you have
I
hard copies?
didn't bring any hard, I have a hard copy here.
Yeah, can I just have that, John?
Yeah.
'Cause there's a comparison, I believe, from the original. Thanks.
The first slide was more to give orientation to Westchester Pike and also Winding Way, where the building was sat on the site and its orientation. The next slide. So this was the parking lot elevation. This is the east facing elevation. So this is where we were at the last meeting. Some of the concerns or recommendations were regarding the white, the amount of white and the starkness of the white. And I believe also the color of the base is a little tan. And so we've been working with the client through the design process, and we've evolved the elevations. And the next slide will show what we did to respond a little bit to what the board had mentioned. So we, instead of the section of white going all the way across, we've separated it. We've tried to break down the facade a little bit more. And also tone the base or change the color of the base. We've made it a medium gray tone to kind of blend in with the white.
Is the curtain wall wood or is that aluminum?
Curtain wall is aluminum, but you're seeing through the glass that we'll be using is kind of a clear on clear glass. So the intent is that we want to see a little bit of the wood structure behind the glass. So that's what you're seeing. Trying to celebrate a little bit the mass timber.
So is the representation of certain pieces of glass that are going to be darker? Or is that just a reflection?
Just reflections. We're gonna have reflections in the sky and buildings, and this is a computer generated rendering as best as we can represent it. I
This is
believe
how it looks from Winding Way.
from Winding Way. Yes. Okay. So the next view was from this is the north and west side of the building, where we have curtain wall, and then we have in front of the curtain wall we have the brise soleil. The next rendering shows the same view that where we've incorporated also a little bit more of the color. We got a little bit more of a better rendering of what the glass is going to look like, and the entire brise soleil is now a brise soleil in front of the curtain wall before.
So this is the revised one.
This is the revised version. Yep. So part of what we're doing with the brise soleil is
And for those who are not familiar with that term, can you explain that?
sure, it's a sun shading system. So what it does is it reduces the solar gain on your building. So we're using it for somewhat of a texture on the building. It's a high-tech look, but also at the same time, we're going through evaluations with our envelope consultant and our engineers on using the brise soleil to kind of tamper down a little bit of the solar gain on the building.
You want to see this? Ed?
So the top of that base,
the upper corner.
Yeah, how much, I think, remember, that's 8 feet above the roof height?
Of the roof. It was somewhere between 8 and 10 feet here. We've lowered
Okay.
it, we've lowered it about 3 feet. We've lowered the whole, we've been
You brought it,
honing in on our design a little
so
bit.
8 to 10, so now it's down to 5 to whatever.
Yeah,
5 to 7.
it actually, it comes across just behind the parapet and then it angles up in the corner just to kind of give a little accent at the corner of the
And is
building.
that
Can you
wood?
go to?
What is that material?
That's the part of the brise-soleil system that, yeah, it's like, yeah, if you, at the end of this, at the end of the presentation, there are some examples of some brise-soleils that, you know, it'll kind of explain or maybe a little bit more detail what that, how those are constructed. Yeah, sure. So if we can continue just on the next couple slides. So here's a view. We wanted to juxtapose it to the height of the hotel across the street and also give you a little bit more of a sense of what the streetscape will be like. And the retail in the foreground. And I believe the next slide will show you examples of that's just the elevations. And the next slide. So here's examples of some brise-soleils. The New York Times building is very similar to what we're proposing. So it's basically, it sits out in front of the curtain wall system, anywhere from 9 to 10 inches, or 6 to 10 inches off the building. And then in between the verticals, there's metal. They could be blades, they could be circles, they could be, there's rectangular shapes. So we're going through the process of determining what the actual shapes are. But in the upper left-hand corners, you can kind of see 2 examples of similar types of aluminum systems. But they can look very elegant on the building. And at the same time, we're using it for some sustainable efforts.
Is this going to be LEED certified, this building?
I don't remember where we.
Yeah, please remember. I can't yet.
In all likelihood, it will not be leaked. I'm sorry, Steve Spader.
Bottom seat before you talk, yeah, get all the way out.
In all likelihood, we would not get LEED certification for. LEED hasn't even caught up with the notion of mass timber. So they're not even there yet.
Okay.
So we're too far ahead of them at this point.
But we're going to use sustainable systems on the building, mechanic, everything, yes.
You're ready.
So is it necessary to go above the roof line?
Well,
And not just the roof line, but the sidewalls of the building too. I mean, in this. I don't know, I mean, it looks like there's a big screen that just shuts out. I don't know. Does it need to go above the roof line for?
As a brise-soleil, no, but as an architectural expression, it's something that the CEO has worked very closely with us for our client,
CEO of the tenant.
the tenant.
Correct.
Right. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts? Are you all right with it?
I'm good. I've asked enough questions.
I think it looks, I personally, I think it looks a lot better. And I think we actually did you guys a favor because it's a lot more open it looks. And exactly, you're able to see the timber now a lot more than you were in the other one. I do have to an extent, agree with Supervisor Partridge in the fact that I don't like how much it's exceeding out on the side, that metal, wire mesh or brise-soleil or however it's pronounced, or the fact that it's exceeding that much up on the top. I appreciate the fact that it's been reduced. but I don't like it. I don't like that overhang in that west view. The back, the west shows it real well as the other angle that we have where it's just, it kind of just hangs out. And I get we're trying to, or the CEO is trying to make it look like the New York Times, but even the New York Times example doesn't exceed the actual structure. It's more or less just placed in the center of the building. So that's the only criticism I have. Outside of that, I do think based off of the first rendering, it looks nice. But again, that screen, the mesh screen, I don't know. I don't like that.
Yeah, I think we've spent a lot of time since the last meeting working with the CEO. You know, obviously, we left the meeting, expressed the concerns that the township had. You know, and we really tried to work towards middle place on this with him. You know, we were able to work through the issues regarding the west facade, south facade. But really, we really couldn't push him any further on the design of the north facade. We were able to scale it back, as John said. We were able to take 3 feet off the height, but we're really at a
Yes. So John, just orient me again with that side of the building. So where is that facing?
sorry. So
Directly
when we go
against-
back to the first rendering, when you go back to the site plan all the way.
I don't know if this helps, but the curtain wall actually also flies past and goes out to receive the screen. So you actually, the curtain wall system and.
Sorry, go back. One above it. Slide 2. Great. So, okay, so you can see it's north facing, it's facing the hotel. The changes that we were able to make are on the south side of the building, facing Winding Way and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Again, just to reiterate, the building itself has already been approved by a prior board. We're just purely looking at the architectural rendering. So with that, if there's any comments from the audience, now is your opportunity. If not, is there a motion? Or do we need a motion for this, Mr. Sokorai? I guess it would probably be the best to do it that way. Is there a motion from the board?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. To approve the
Is there a date on the drawings?
The revised
revised
613
architectural
drawings.
revised architectural drawings
Dated 6/13.
dated 6/13 as presented by APG regarding the new office building at Ellis Preserve.
For a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? Again, I'll give an opportunity if there's any public comment. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, I want one of that.
Thank you.
Let's keep the big one.
All right. With that, we will now move down to section 19, board comment. Is there any board comment? Any public comment? Anybody has any public comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Larry Fisher, 3503 Rhodes. On behalf of the Historical Society, I'd like to thank the board, Steve Neese, George, Suzanne, and everybody in the township for their assistance in our historic Newtown Square Day. It was a great day, weather cooperated. We had a really nice turnout. a lot of happy faces. I think it was a good day for the community and had great support from your team, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. I left everybody a copy of the book, so.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
very much,
stuff.
Larry.
And one other thing, not too late to become a member.
Thank you very much, Larry. There was one public comment that I failed to note at the beginning. The board did receive an email from a Kevin Carr who lives on Ellis Avenue, thanking the board for the installation of the speed bumps. He noted in his email that the speeding has been reduced and that they're already starting to see a significant improvement. So thank you, George, and thank you to my colleagues for purchasing those temporary speed tables. Any other public comments? All right, we'll now move down to items for the next agenda. None right now, and we will adjourn. Thank you all very much.